"We're selling the house." My mother said, her voice calm but final, like the clang of a judge's gavel ending all discussion. "It's for Brandon's wedding, of course." I blinked. "Did I hear that right, Elena?" She continued as if announcing the weather. "Chloe's found the perfect venue, a garden estate just outside Gastonia. It's a once-in-a-lifetime wedding, and we want to give them the best start possible." My name is Elena Brooks. I'm 35, a senior marketing manager for a regional logistics company here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've worked every day since I was 16, paid my way through college, budgeted, sacrificed, hustled. Meanwhile, my younger brother, Brandon just coasted. But this wasn't just favoritism. They were selling our childhood home, the place I learned to ride a bike, the porch where I carved pumpkins with my dad. The upstairs hallway still had a faint dent where Brandon crashed into the wall on a Razor scooter, and they were selling it for a party. For Brandon's wedding, I asked, slowly setting down my fork as my stomach twisted. The Mount Holly house. My father, Richard, nodded like this was the most natural decision in the world. It should cover everything. Venue, vendors, the whole 9 yards. Chloe deserves it. Brandon beamed from across the table, his fiancée Chloe practically vibrating beside him. "It's going to be magical, Lena. The flowers, the string quartet, even a custom cake tasting this week." "Where are you going to live?" I asked, though I already knew. My gut told me this wasn't just a financial decision, they had a plan. My dad cleared his throat. "Well, we figured we could stay with you for a bit, just until we find a smaller place. A bit." That was their favorite word. It never meant a week. It meant seasons, sometimes years. "I've only got 2 bedrooms," I said carefully. "We know Mom chimed in, but we won't be any trouble. It'll be nice to spend more time together again, like the old days." Brandon leaned forward, his grin boyish. "Lena, wait till you see the place. Chloe found it on Instagram. It has these glass garden domes, fountain chandeliers. It's like something out of a movie. 200 guests," Chloe added. "Live music photographers from LA. We want it all." I looked around the dinner table, feeling the air grow tight in my chest. $80,000. That's what my mother said they expected to spend. Meanwhile, I was clipping coupons, living modestly in a tidy 2-bedroom apartment, driving a 10-year-old Civic, and saving every cent for a house of my own. I'd assumed one day I'd need to help my parents with their retirement, not that they'd burn it all down to give Brandon a fairy tale, and then parachute into my life like I was the backup plan. And the worst part, they hadn't even asked. I should have known it was coming. Growing up, I was the little adult. While Brandon was building blanket forts and forgetting homework, I was setting the dinner table, color-coding flashcards, and getting straight A's. My parents bragged about my maturity to their friends, like it was some kind of prize, but it came at a cost. I didn't get to be a kid. I didn't get to fall apart. Because someone had to hold it together, and Brandon. He was the golden child. He failed algebra twice. My parents blamed the teacher. He wanted to play lacrosse, then fencing, then fly drones. He got everything he asked for. He totaled his car at 17, and within a week there was a newer model in the driveway. When I applied to colleges, I filled out financial aid forms alone at the public library. I worked 2 part-time jobs to avoid loans, skipped spring breaks, and graduated early. No one threw me a party. So when my parents announced they were selling the house, the one thing they had left for Brandon's wedding, I shouldn't have been surprised. But I was. And worse, I still felt guilty for even questioning it. "So when's the big day?" I asked, forcing my voice into something light, almost cheerful. "June 15th. Chloe answered, her smile wide. "Brandon proposed at Christmas. We've been planning ever since. That gave them barely 4 months to sell the house, plan the wedding, and apparently move in with me." "You found a realtor already?" "Meeting her tomorrow," my dad said. "The market's great. We should get at least $130,000. They said it like it was a win, like that money would magically stretch forever." I just nodded. "Well," I said, pushing back my chair, "I hope it all works out." Brandon reached across the table, squeezing my hand like he was passing me a burden wrapped in gratitude. "Thanks, Lena. Seriously. You're going to love having Mom and Dad around again." I smiled back, but inside I was already screaming, because I knew exactly what having them around again meant. My dad would take over my second bedroom, spread his tax papers and checkbooks across my dining table, like it was his personal command center. My mom would rearrange my entire kitchen critique, my laundry habits, and treat my bathroom like a shared dorm. And me, I'd quietly vanish from my own life again. But something was different this time. A part of me wasn't willing to disappear. 2 weeks later, it began. I was reviewing quarterly ad performance reports in my office when my phone buzzed with a message from my mother house. Showing went great. 3 offers already. Brandon's wedding is going to be amazing. I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. 3 offers. Already, I typed back a polite congrats and tried to focus on a spreadsheet, but the numbers blurred. That evening, Brandon called. "You won't believe it," he said, breathless. "They got an offer, $130,000. They're accepting it." "That's fast," I said, "and Mom was wondering if she and Dad could start moving a few things to your place this weekend." I paused. "My place? Just personal stuff," he said quickly. "Clothes, papers, nothing big." "Right." I looked around my 2-bedroom apartment. One room was my sanctuary, the other was my home office. There wasn't an inch of space for boxes, coats, or my father's 6-drawer file cabinet he refused to throw out since 1989. This weekend, buyers want to close quickly. Mom and Dad have to be out by the end of the month. I didn't answer right away. I could feel my pulse in my neck. "Have you thought about what happens after the wedding?" I asked. "Where they'll live." Brandon hesitated. I figured. "They'll stay with you until they figure it out. It's not a big deal, right?" Not a big deal. Like my life was a guest room. Like my peace, my space. My years of effort were all just holding patterns until the golden boy needed backup. I ended the call with a tight smile in my voice, then sat in silence. I looked out the kitchen window at the city skyline. All these years I'd built this life for myself. Every couch, every framed photo, every plant was chosen with intention. I had routines, calm evenings, freedom. And now they were moving in, uninvited, unplanned, entitled. But I still wasn't ready to say no. Instead, I said what I'd always said. Of course. But deep inside, the word tasted like rust, and something inside me was starting to break. The doorbell rang at 8:00 a.m. sharp that Saturday. I opened it still in my robe, bleary-eyed and uncaffeinated, only to find my parents standing there with enough suitcases and boxes to outfit a touring jazz band. "Surprise," my mother chirped, brushing past me with an armful of clothes on plastic hangers. "We figured we'd get an early start," my father added, hoisting a stack of boxes labeled Kitchen Essentials, Office Files, and Important Documents. Behind them, Brandon, unloading even more boxes from the back of his truck. I blinked. I thought this was just some clothes and papers. "Well, we got a little carried away," Mom said, already hanging her coats in my hall closet like she'd lived here for years. "You'll see, it'll feel just like the old days." I highly doubted that. The old days didn't involve sharing one bathroom or my dad using my dining table as a tax center. Within 2 hours, my apartment was gone. The clean lines of my space were swallowed by their clutter. My mom declared my coffee maker inadequate and moved hers in. My father commandeered my home office, setting up a dinosaur desktop computer and asking for my Wi-Fi password at least 6 times. "Where am I supposed to work?" I asked, eyeing my displaced laptop. "The kitchen table," Mom sang. Cozy, right? Cozy wasn't the word I'd use. Over lunch, she casually mentioned Chloe's dress came in yesterday. $3,000, can you imagine? But she looks like a queen. $3,000 for a dress. 1 day wear. I did some quick math. That was half my rent. Then Dad spoke. "Speaking of money, we might need to borrow a little from you, just until the check clears." I froze. "Borrow the flowers ran over budget," he said, "and Brandon's bachelor party in Vegas. It's going to be a bit more than we thought." How much, I asked carefully. $5,000, like he was asking for a soda. My stomach flipped. "I thought the house covered everything it did," my mom said quickly. "Mostly, but there's been a slight complication." Oh no, the buyers found issues in the inspection, Dad admitted. Roof and foundation. They want to drop the offer by $20,000. I nearly dropped my fork. "So you're accepting a $100,000 offer?" But you're still planning to spend $80,000 on the wedding." They nodded. "And where are you going to live after?" "We'll figure that out," Mom said breezily. That's when it hit me. They weren't figuring anything out. They were settling in permanently. They'd sold their security to fund Brandon's fantasy, and now they expected me to carry the fallout. But the real bomb hadn't dropped yet. And when it did, I wouldn't be the same person anymore. The weeks blurred. My apartment became a crowded circus of wedding chaos and passive-aggressive takeover. Every morning I woke up to the sound of my mother reorganizing something. She rearranged my spice rack, criticized my skincare routine, and declared my bedding too sterile. My father had spread his contracts, receipts, and color-coded wedding spreadsheets across the coffee table like he was planning a corporate merger. And the $5,000 loan, it became $7,000. Then $10,000. "The caterer needs a deposit," Mom said one night as I tried to eat in silence. "Just $3,000 more." I set down my fork. $3,000 more. "For food that people are going to eat for one night and never think about again." "Brandon is so stressed," she replied, oblivious. "We just want to ease the burden. Chloe's family is so elegant, we don't want to look small. Small, I was working 50-hour weeks, living like a minimalist monk, and apparently I was the embarrassment. "What about after the wedding?" I asked. "Have you started looking at apartments?" Another glance between them. "Well, Dad said the wedding expenses have dipped into our down payment. We were thinking maybe 6 more months, just to get our feet under us," I laughed. Not out of humor, out of sheer disbelief. 6 months will help with rent." Mom offered like that was generous after draining my savings. But she didn't know I had plans. My lease was up in 2 months. I'd been saving for a down payment of my own, a house, a garden, a real office. Those dreams were dissolving like sugar in boiling water. That weekend, Brandon dropped by, grinning with excitement, flashing their custom wedding bands. "Ro, you're seriously the best," he said, hugging me. "Letting Mom and Dad stay here helping with money, it means everything." I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled like I always had. Later that night, I sat alone in the only room that still felt mine. I opened my laptop and began to dig. Property management laws, lease violation clauses, tenant protections, and what I found hit me like a thunderclap. If my parents stayed past 6 months without being on the lease, they could claim tenant rights. Eviction would require legal action. My apartment, my sanctuary, could become a shared residence by default. And suddenly, I wasn't mad. I was awake. And for the first time in 35 years, I was done waiting for permission. I was going to take back my life. The final straw came 3 weeks before the wedding. I came home from work exhausted and craving silence, only to find 8 strangers in my living room. Jessica's aunt's cousins and bridal committee were crowded around my coffee table, sipping wine and passing around centerpiece samples. My mother turned and beamed. "Elena, perfect timing. We're finalizing the bridal shower plans." In my apartment, I asked flatly. "It's just family," she said, brushing it off. "The space is perfect for 30 guests." 30. "Mom, can we talk in private?" I asked. We stepped into my bedroom, the only place I hadn't surrendered. "You can't host a party here without asking." "Oh, don't be so dramatic. It's just one afternoon." "No, it's my home," I snapped, "and you didn't ask." Her face shifted. That soft, manipulative mask faltered, revealing something sharper underneath. "Elena, you're being difficult. This wedding is important." I exhaled. "Then answer me honestly. What's your plan after the wedding? Where will you live?" Silence. Then a sigh. "We overspent," she admitted. "We didn't expect the repairs or the floral upgrades. We only have about $15,000 left. $15,000 in a city where first, last, and a deposit could eat half of that in one bite. So your plan is to stay with me indefinitely, just until we figure something out." And that was it. The moment I saw her, not as my mother, the woman who made casseroles and held my hand after breakups, but as someone who made reckless decisions and expected me to clean up the mess. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I took action. The next morning, I called my landlord. I explained everything. The unapproved tenants, the lease violations. He was blunt. "You can either put them on the lease with higher rent or have them out in 30 days. "I want them out," I said. Then I froze my bank account from any more family withdrawals. I'd already given $10,000. I wasn't an ATM, and then I made the hardest call of all. Brandon answered on the second ring. "Hey, Lena, what's I need Mom and Dad out of my apartment by next Friday?" Silence. "What are you talking about? They're violating my lease. I've spoken to my landlord. They have to go. Elena, come on. The wedding's in 2 weeks, I'm aware. But this has gone too far." "You're being incredibly selfish," he snapped. "This is the biggest day of my life, and every day is mine," I said, calm but solid. "I'm not sacrificing my life so you can have a fairy tale." I hung up before he could answer. Within the hour, the storm hit. Dozens of texts, missed calls, Mom showing up at my office in tears. "How could you do this to us?" she whispered. "We're family." "And family doesn't mean endless sacrifice," I said. "It means making responsible choices." Which you didn't. Then I handed her a folder listings I'd printed that morning, furnished short-term rentals, extended stay hotels, affordable apartments. She looked at them like I'd handed her eviction papers. In a way, I had. "You want us to cancel the wedding? I want you to be adults." She left without a word. That week, something shifted. Chloe's parents started asking real questions. Expenses were cut. The bridal shower was moved to Jessica's aunt's house. No more orchestra. No Vegas bachelor party. And then 3 days before the wedding, Dad called. "Elena," he said, voice low, "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For everything. Taking advantage. Assuming. You were right to draw the line." I didn't say anything for a long moment. "Thank you," I whispered. "That means more than you know. Wedding's still happening. Smaller. But we'll manage on our own from now on. You sure?" "I'm sure." "And are you still coming?" I thought about it. About missing it. About showing up. About my brother. "Yes," I said. "I'll be there." The wedding was simple, hot, and thundercloud humid. Chloe wore the same dress. Brandon cried during the vows. My parents looked humbled. After the reception, Brandon found me near the parking lot. "I owe you one too," he said. "For everything. I didn't get it before, but I do now. I love you, Brandon. I always will. But I'm done being the family's safety net." He nodded. "You deserve better than that." I drove home to my quiet apartment, my space, my peace. And the next month I made an offer on a small house with a garden and a door that only I had the key to. Looking back, I don't see what I did as revenge. It wasn't about hurting anyone. It was about protecting myself. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for the people you love is finally say no. Have you ever been treated like the backup plan? Share your story below and don't forget to like, subscribe, and protect your peace.